about them Bears? What a performance that. Well, it wasn't even the greatest performance, but what a result. It's great on a Monday, Victory Monday, when you can start seeing all the fan reactions and everyone going mad in Vegas. And sure, that was some night for some of those guys out there. But we're here, ready to go, talk about the Chicago Bears going 2-2. And we're going to talk about Josh Blockwell, as he's now going to be known. Anyway, let's get this show on the road. Tony, let's hit it.
Yes! 2-2.
2-2, baby.
2-2. Fucking what a win, by the way. Like, what I was saying this last night, and I'm just going to jump right into it. I was saying this last night. That win right there was more impressive than the big blowout against Dallas last week. Like, that is a game that we make a complete bollocks of last season, the season before that, whatever. You know, we're usually the guys on the end of the blocked field goals, but here it is. We kind of make it out, and this is it, and this is what I'm talking about in the name of this episode. Good, better, best, never let it rest, man. Like that just encompassed that performance, man. But I was just fucking delighted with that win, man. And I know that you had other things going. You didn't get to see it live, but what were your thoughts? What were your overall thoughts on the win?
Well, 4:30 in the morning is when I started watching, so that's hardcore. So yeah, I fell asleep putting kids to bed, and then woke up going, "Oh crap!" So I didn't look at anything. I just watched it from 4:30. And that's great about that, though. You can fast forward over stupid things when they go in timeouts and stuff like that, and halftime and that kind of stuff. But literally, just before I went to work is when I was at 7 o'clock, and I was just at the finish in the end, and I was buzzing the whole way up the road. Yeah, like, you rightly said, we never at the end of that. We're always the guys that get sucked in and beaten, or we'll have a field goal to win and we'll shank it, or we'll get block kicks, or something will go wrong. I just thought, you know what, you're right. I think it's better to win a game where you don't perform or you need to dig in there. And they were all talking about the character levels. I think Kevin Byard talked about it, saying that it's just amazing that they don't have that they haven't had those tight games, and it just builds belief in the room. I remember talking about the Minnesota Vikings in week 1, that O'Connell has got that into them, which is like that they win those tight games, and they have a self-belief. And I think that only comes from winning the ones. So this is going to be a good start. Look, it was season on the line. And Josh Blockwell knows exactly what he's doing right at that moment. And I think, look, it's brilliant waking up and seeing all the fans' reactions as well. I posted on Twitter today. It's just brilliant to see all the reaction from fans around the world. And it means so much, you know.
It does, man.
Even that wine, celebratory Monday wine.
Oh, nice. What kind of wine is that you've got there for the wine connoisseurs in the chat?
Box wine.
Nice. I was expecting you to go white.
No messing bottle bullshit. Get a box, open it up, spray it in there. Fucking had it with a couple of hot dogs. Fucking Monday celebrations.
In a plastic bag.
Fucking, that's
love it, man. I love it. Like this is
grape juice, Lee. Grape juice, exactly. Life is sensation. Let's get straight into this, though, Tony. Right? So let's be honest. The first half we were shite. Let's call it spec. No, offensively now, defensively, and I get on to my superstars of the week in a minute, but defensively we were shite.
Yeah.
Offensively we were shite.
Offensively we were absolutely pish. You know, and the big X factor in that first half especially was Max Crosby, and we just didn't find any way to deal with them at all. And it shocked me as well, because you think going into that game, if you're planning, and maybe they did have a plan in place and it just didn't work, but if you're going into that game, you look at Matt Crosby and you go, that's a guy that's going to disrupt us. That's a guy that's going to get to the quarterback. He's going to be all over the defensive line in general, not just on the outside. And that's exactly what he did. The PBUs, the interception, getting in Caleb's face. At one point, Caleb looked like a deer in headlights, because it felt like no matter what they did, they couldn't stop him coming through that offensive line. And it was disastrous. So offensively, we just couldn't get anything going whatsoever. We'll come into it, but the run game, not just in the first half, but generally speaking, the run game is a real concern. And that's a combination of, for me, offensive linemen not doing what they need to be doing, and also the running backs just not being able to kind of break any tackles or anything like that. Like, I mean, you look at the running back situation in general there, and you had D'Andre Swift, who had 14 carries for 38 yards. That's only 2.7 average per carry. Like, that's just really, really poor, and that's across the whole game. Remarkably for me, they stuck with that idea. They kept going inside with the ball. Monongai didn't really see the field much. I think he had like 4 carries the whole game, but in that 4 carries, he averaged nearly 5 yards a carry. So give that guy the ball more, you might pick up more on the ground. We ended up having to rely on Caleb Williams to run quite a lot as well again, which we should do. But you want to have a running back who can actually get things going. So that was a concern. But yeah, first half was really, really poor. But on the flip side, defensively, we were all over the Raiders. We made Geno Smith's life a fucking misery. What was your take on the We'll look at the defensive backs first, man, because those guys really shone out last night.
That was the best performance I've seen from a Chicago Bears safety and the Chicago Bears cornerback in years. Absolutely the best performance I've seen. Tariq Stevenson gets a lot of abuse from me included. He was absolutely sensational. Kevin Byard, what a signing he's turned out to be totally honest. That end of his career. But what I loved about that, it wasn't just the interceptions, and there was 2 sensational interceptions. It was the tackle just before to create that longer kick, and where had he not made the tackle, Genty's going to get those 2 yards, 3 yards. Suddenly it's first down. They can run down the clock and get it close to the field, and more likely kick it from there as well. I just thought Kevin Byard, that honestly is the best safety performance I've seen from a Chicago Bears player in absolute years. And just the overall determination to get after the ball, and the 3 intercepts, they were brilliant. Byard played Geno's eyes, followed them the whole way. There were 2 very similar types of interceptions. And then Stevenson's one was just remarkable at the start of the second half. That is some take, man. Some take. And look, I'm delighted for him. I'm delighted for him to show people like me up. I'm delighted for the defensive backs coach. I'm delighted for the whole defensive setup, because look, let's be honest, we came out of Detroit and we were thinking, God, this defense is one of the worst in the league. And now they've put back-to-back performances where, yeah, was it perfect? Of course not, but there was heart, there was soul, which wasn't there in Detroit. There was heart, there was determination, there was a playing for the jersey, and they were playing for their coach, and they were playing for the player beside them. And win or lose, that's all you really want. That's your starter point. And I think the defense put our offense into positions. And I don't want it to be a negative show, because you look at the scenario then of when the offense was needed in that second half, when the drive was needed, including runs, we pulled it out of the bag. And I think there was a lot to be learned from that. You learn a lot from those tight wins as well in a strange way. But I was really so impressed with Stevenson and Byard especially. I just thought they were head and shoulders the best Bears players on the field.
Yeah, Byard with 2 interceptions, Stevenson with 1. Stevenson, for me, like I've been really critical of him, and I think most of it's been justified, to be fair. Given all the kind of antics in the previous season, but fair play to him. this game and the game against the Cowboys, the guys came out and played his arse off, and he's been excellent, to be honest with you. I mean, we all know the talent was there. You know, there was just that kind of way. It was just trying to kind of get it consistent and trying to, you know, get the guy to sort of mature a little bit, because let's be honest, you know, we look back to that game last year when he's standing on the opposite side of the field and he's taunting and all this kind of carry on, and you can't have that. But if you manage to get him playing well, then you know, he's definitely he's a starting cornerback for the Bears. Like, the Bears want to have him, Jalen Johnson, and Kyler Gordon as the three corners, you know, and that's where it's going to go eventually. But it's good to see that when Jalen Johnson isn't there, that we're getting Stevenson stepping up, and really cornerback too. But you know, he was cornerback one last night, and I think he was absolutely phenomenal. On the flip side with the defense, I think we have to look at the sort of defensive line and have questions still with that, though. No pass rush really yesterday, no sacks whatsoever. I don't even remember hearing Montez Sweat's name being mentioned. Dayo Odeyingbo was involved in a couple of things here and there, but the pass rush was non-existent. You know, and that was an issue, and that's why it was so important for those defensive backs to step up and what they're doing with the coverage, and sticking to their man. I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. Lee's talking there about the linebackers. You know, that was a mixed night for the linebackers. I thought at times they looked really good. But if you look at both of Ashton Jeanty's receiving touchdowns, they both come off of missed tackles from linebackers. The first one, Noah Sewell needs to make that tackle. He's got all the time in the world. He sees him in front of him, just doesn't wrap up. Same with Tremaine Edmonds on that second receiving touchdown. Those guys need to be doing that. And I was quite disappointed at how that kind of worked out. What were your thoughts on Ashton Jeanty? Kind of had a bit of a breakout game against the Bears. Probably, if you're going to go against a team with a bad run defense, it will be the Bears, and you're going to show out. But what did you think of the rookie?
He's a class player. He's everything we thought he was going to be. He's a class player. Like, I want to say this: Max Crosby was so unlucky not to be in the winning side. That was domination in the highest order. One man wrecking team. And what's he doing at the Raiders? If I'm completely honest, that guy deserves to be at a bigger football club. Not bigger football club. That's being disingenuous, but he deserves to be at a more successful football club, because he just was a one-man wrecking machine. And God, imagine him on the Chicago Bears. I was thinking that this morning watching the game. God, imagine having him as our wrecking defensive end. Just he was just brilliant. No qualms about it. The interception was just, not many players can go and do that. And I know people talk about Parsons or Hendrickson or whatever, but Max Crosby's in that conversation too. And he showed it again last night. Jeanty is going to be a superstar running back. The way he scored their touchdown, 60-odd yards out. Once he broke the line of scrimmage, you're like, that's it, he's gone. And Byard had the line angle. I think it might be a little bit unfair on the linebackers personally. I get it. They made the line. They should make those tackles. But this kid's something different. He's just something different. And you hold your hands up. He's like, they're two best players. One of them had the game of his life, and the other one scored 3 touchdowns, and we still come out with the win. Doesn't bode well really for the Raiders, if I'm honest. For me, I think what I loved about the Bears is that we had all those negative stuff. We took those takeaways and only scored 6 points. We made absolute harlots after harlots for some positions. We didn't get, like, Cole Kmet had a bit of a nightmare. You had a lot of those guys, but still they dug in, and still they found a way in that fourth quarter. And got to give Caleb credit. I loved the touchdown to Rome Odunze. I loved Rome's angle, but I think that, you know, what I loved about that the most is he stayed in the pocket. After everything was going on, with Crosby was all over him, he still stayed in the pocket, went back into the pocket to make that bullet pass. That's progression for me. That's the thing that we were asking for Caleb. It wasn't, can we see him light it up when he goes out and does mad throws across his body and all kind of stuff. We know he can do that. We don't know, or at the start of the season, we didn't know, can he get into the pocket, stay there and hit hit the receiver, and he was doing it. And was it perfect? Of course not. But there's progression there in that part of his game. There was a lot of a calmness about him as well, which we were always kind of questioning a bit unfair, but we wanted to see. And I think that's something that's really, really positive when things don't go his way. He historically last year was going to get a bit moody and getting a bit down and showing off his personality in a negative way. And there was none of that yesterday. There's been none of that all season, to be fair. And that's the progression we speak about with Caleb Williams. And then, look, overall, Roman Dunze scores 4 touchdowns and whatever it is, 5 touchdowns in 4 games, or whatever it is. Like that's. I know you had said before, Tony, about what start of the year you wanted to see more from him, knowing a top 10 pick. But he's definitely shown it in the first 4 games.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly. I don't have any qualms with that at all. I think he's been absolutely phenomenal. He's Caleb's guy. He's slowly but surely taken over as the number 1 receiver on this team. DJ Moore obviously he was involved a little bit last night, 40 odd yards receiving, something like that, and he showed up when it mattered. But at the same, Roma Dunze was just there as a constant throughout the whole thing, and I think he's been absolutely phenomenal. I think a big part though of an interesting thing was last night. We're watching the game, and I remember saying they've got to go in at halftime and they've got to make adjustments. They've got to move things around. They've got to. This is when this mastermind offensive head coaching thing comes in, where this has got to be the difference. You've looked at what's happened in the first half. You make changes, and then you put something else out there. And I think that's exactly what Ben Johnson and the rest of his coaches did last night. I think you look at probably the biggest move for me was trying to change things up on the offensive line. A, because it wasn't working in general, and B, because they needed to do something about Max Crosby. And that's what they did. They took off Braxton Jones. They moved Theo Benedette over to the left-hand side. And then Ozzy Chupilo came on and played right tackle. And I thought he was excellent, absolutely excellent at right tackle. And for a second-round pick, you'd expect him to be contributing by now. And so I'm so thankful to see him on the pitch getting involved. And hopefully that continues. I know Darnell Wright's going to be back soon, but you have to get him and Benedette involved somehow moving forward. I think left tackle. I don't know what happened with Braxton Jones. Was he injured? No one said anything. Was he just taken off?
He was taken off because he came back on for some of the field goal, or for the field goal and the extra point. So he was obviously benched. And I think,
and I don't mean excellent in terms of but it's good that they're willing to make that change early on without dragging the arse out.
Well, when's the last time you've seen a head coach? And I'll say this to anyone that's watching on Twitter. I think there's around 30, 40 people watching. Come on over to the chat. Don't leave Lee on his own. So come over and get involved, and I have a couple of questions our way. We're here for another 25, 30 minutes. So it's Celebration Monday. So what else would you be doing on a Monday? But and like the show if you're watching, like the show and retweet and get people involved. But for me, you know how much I'd love Theo Benedette to be a success in the Bears, and I think moving into left tackle, I thought he's more suited there, and I think there's a real competition at that left tackle spot, and I think there's an interesting one coming up on the right tackle as well. We missed Darnell Wright. You could see that in the first half, but I think 100% agree. I think Ozzy Chupilo, you didn't hear much from Max Crosby in the second half after dominating the first half so much, and that's down to Chupilo's dedication and work ethic and stuff like that. And I think the inside offensive line got a little bit better as the game went on. It wasn't the shit show inside offensive line I've seen from us, but it wasn't great. They weren't creating holes. They were creating a little bit of a pocket for Caleb. But I think overall, you watch the game and you realise that this is the kind of game we lose. Defense balls out and the offense doesn't have either the quarterback or the head coach or the caller or the offensive line or whatever. And this is the first time you felt that little bit of confidence, whether it's the quarterback call, whether it's the quarterback or his head coach or his weapons that he has. And I think Zacchaeus started making some catches, and you saw DJ Moore getting involved a little bit. You saw Rome obviously getting involved, Caleb with his feet. Swift started getting a bit of runs. Monungai I totally agree with you. He has to get more touches than 4. I know his pass blocking is poor, but he's got to get more touches than 4. He just that needs to change. And Burden is another one who needs to get his hands on the ball. He's shown it in the last 2 games. Just those are the things that I want to see more of coming out of the bye.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I'd be curious to see what happens on that offensive line moving forward. I think right tackle wise, Darnell Wright's going to come back, but left tackle, you could probably see Theo Bernadette playing there after the bye. And I think, Lee says it in the comments there, right tackle, he looked okay, but when he moved to left tackle, it was a lot better. But, it was good that they sort of, to deal with Max Crosby, they obviously had Trapilo come in at right tackle, but they also brought in the blocking tight end, Smythe, that they were double teaming them, So, yeah, at the end of the day, you have to do what you need to do to eliminate the threat, and that's what they eventually started to do, and that's why the second half was so good. You came out right out of the gate in the second half, you get the turnover, and then you kind of go down the field and you're getting points on the board again. So it was really good to see that. You mentioned earlier on Cole Kmet, who for me was absolutely disastrous yesterday. He still had 46 yards receiving, averaging 15 yards a catch, which is fine, but it's the drops. There was two big drops in particular, but 3 in general in the game. You had the one over the middle, he's wide open, catches the ball, probably a touchdown, and then you had the one where Caleb's outside, escaping the pocket, runs over the kind of sideline and shoots some pass like 20 yards up the sideline to Cole Kmet. Now, it's a tough catch to make, there's no doubt about that, right? But top tight end getting paid $12 million a year, you're expecting him to do better, and you're certainly expecting him to do better with that over the top one, over the middle pass. Big questions over Cole Kmet for me, man, because it wasn't just that, though. Hold on. It wasn't just that. It was the false starts. It was the snap penalties for a guy who's meant to be one of your leaders or whatever. Like, that was really pretty poor. That needs to be dealt with. And you look at that signing of Colston Loveland and you think, God, did Ben Johnson come in and look at Cole Kmet and think, I need to maybe look somewhere else eventually, like that, and maybe that's going to be the case. But what are your overall thoughts on Cole Kmet? Not just in this game, but generally this season. Are you disappointed?
No, I wouldn't say he was poor last night. Overall, historically, he's been good. I wouldn't say great. I wouldn't say amazing. I wouldn't say bad. I wouldn't say mediocre. He's been good. I think he deserved his contract extension. I think he's been a bright light sometimes and in bad times. He was poor last night. I think the penalty, the pre-snap penalties, the 4th and 1 was that's just criminal for a guy of his experience. That's something you'd expect that from Loveland. Like a rookie tight end making that mistake, you go, okay, that's a rookie. But it's just frustrating. The one over the middle, man, that's drive killing. That is drive killing, and that's unfortunately going to go down against Caleb. But that's a bad error by your tight end. He's got to catch that ball. There's no one near him. It's not like he's about to get hit. He's not in traffic. It's right in his hands. It's actually too good a pass almost. And I think that's disappointing. And then he backed it up. Then you want him to, okay, that's my one mistake of the game, and I move on. He compounded it. And then compounded it again. Actually, I've just seen a stat that I want to throw past you because I just love this stat. So Roma Dunze on 3rd downs this season, right? 10 catches, 181 yards, 3 touchdowns. On 3rd downs. He is, as you say, he's Caleb's boy. Like, he's the one he goes to.
Mr. Reliable. That's it.
Just showing the justification of his pick at the moment, and that's what you want to see. Yeah. You want to basically be able to turn around and say, yeah, look, we did go with a wide receiver in the first round where we probably should have gone tackle or we should have gone offensive line. But this kid is definitely, hopefully, there for a long time in Chicago, and he's got a bit of something about him going home to Vegas and stuff like that. So just thought I saw that stat, so I thought that was kind of cool. On Cole Kmet, I think John will say about Cole Kmet, be interested what the fans would say if he was born in Texas. Chicago boy, Chicago Bears fan all his life. I always think that about Cole Komet. I think he gets a little bit of a free ride, a little bit sometimes by the media and also by some of the fans because he's Mr. Chicago. And again, I say what I said a minute ago. I think he's been a good player for Chicago Bears in his 4 years at the Bears. I'm hoping Loveman will overtake him in the same way that I hope that DJ Rome Odunze and Luther Burden takes over from DJ Moore, and that we end up trading both of DJ Moore and Cole Komet. Not because they're not great players or good players. It's just that's the evolution of a team. You draft players who then take over from your players who are getting paid a lot of money. So I think that's something to look for. Lee says it in the chat. I think it's really important we get some of our players back. I mean, you look at the players that we were out. Obviously, we know Jalen Johnson's out for the year, but then you look at Kyler Gordon hasn't gone on the field. Darnell Wright is injured. You've got TJ Edwards basically hasn't got on the field really. Who else am I missing? Grady Jarrett, our big signing in the off season. Those guys need to get back onto the football field, and we get them back, we'll increase by at least 10%. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely something to be said on that. I mean, I think we missed Jalen Johnson right away. I think that's the biggest one. I think, you know, and I wrote an article about this for Bear Report this week. I think we need to replace him for the short term. We need to bring in someone for the rest of the year. I mean, we can go over that, you know, who it could be later on. But either way, he's a big miss. Kyler Gordon, obviously, another person that we need to get back. There was some hope he was going to play this week, and it just didn't come through at the end. So you think having that bye week, an extra week to kind of get back, then certainly by the time we play the Commanders in week 6, that, you know, he's going to be there. To be honest with you, I mean, obviously you want to have TJ Edwards there, right? There's no doubt about that. But I think, generally speaking, Noah Sewell has come in and did a great job. I don't think, you know, it's been a huge drop-off. But you obviously want to get him back. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Colston Loveland, obviously, we want to get him involved again. He's been available the first 2-3 games. And then you look at guys like Austin Booker, etc. You know, like eventually long-term, you know, for your pass rush-wise, you've got big concerns over where the pass rush is coming from. And Austin Booker had a really good preseason. Obviously, he had a really good preseason last year as well, and it never really came to anything. But you're just hoping that can take the next step. Still a young player, still a lot of promise there. So absolutely, I think the injuries have been really impactful. But then again, we've still managed to find a way to win games with the next man up mentality. And I think especially over the last 2 weeks, it's just been a sort of different. I feel like week 1 was one of those ones where we probably should have won it. You know, like we just had that first game, offense coming together, teething issues. The second game, we shat the bed entirely. So you can't say anything about that. Week 3, week 4, though, again, you're coming out and you're doing well considering everything's new. We're lost players, injuries, all that kind of stuff. So I think, generally speaking, this has been a really positive first quarter of the season. I think, to be honest with you, if I was going into the season and you told me by the end of week 4 we'll be 2-2, I'd probably be all right with that, to be honest with you. Like, considering, you know, all things considered, obviously I wanted to try and take at least one win against either the Lions or the Vikings. And I think that'll come. I think it will come by the time we come around to play them again. It's going to be a different game. It's going to be a closer game. We're going to be more settled than we were before. You know, so anyway, it happens the first 2 games. But the important thing is you win the games that you were expected to win. And the Bears were expected to win last night, right? I don't know what the betting line was, but I don't imagine. I'm pretty sure the Bears were the favourites. Certainly in the minds of all the fans, we should be winning that game last night. And we did it, you know. And that was the difference between this year's team and last year's team. We won in the games we were expected to win. And then on top of that, we won a game that we weren't expected to win. You know, obviously Dallas are not quite the same team anymore without their star pass rusher, but they're still a good team. Still a team that are going to score points on on others, and especially given the fact the Bears gave up a 50 burger the week before we played them. So it's really encouraging to see where the Bears have gone, and it'll be interesting to see. They get a week off now, come back, Commanders again, prime time, an opportunity for revenge from last season when we made an arse of it at the end. And it'd be really interesting to see, especially with the mentality of this new team, how they come out, how they show out. And I'm pretty sure, are they still going to be without? Are they still going to have Marcus Mariota as their starting QB by that point? I don't know if James Daniels is still injured or not.
Daniels should be back, I'd say, by that. But for me, it's almost a free game based on what you said about the 2-2. What I'm intrigued about is that, look, I think I get what you're saying about the Lions and we shot the bed, but I keep on saying to everybody, the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions are two of the best teams in the NFL. And we should have beaten the Vikings. We just should have. We just so many things in week one went wrong in that second half. Stupidly in a lot of ways. But the Lions, no one really put us down to win that game. And what was bad about that is how badly we performed and how they handled the emotion of that game so much better than we did, and we gave up in a lot of ways. Well, now the last 2 weeks, what I've loved about the last 2 weeks is it's not been perfect at all. There's been things you look at and you go, God, we could get better here and we could get better here, we can get better here. But you can't say the desire wasn't there. You can't say they weren't playing for each other and playing for the coaching staff, playing for the fans, which, by the way, Jesus Christ, the amount of Bears fans in Vegas yesterday. Oh my God.
50-50, wasn't it? It's got to be 50-50.
I think it was more. Like everywhere you went, when the camera panned, it was just the Bears fans were everywhere. And that's just shows how much we are desperate to get back on that field and to have some sort of success and some sort of positivity to take into it. I was so proud watching the game back, seeing how many Bears fans were actually in Vegas, and it just goes to show the dedication. And you give this team, I will say this, you give this franchise, you give this team, you give these supporters hope. You give them something to hang on to. And that's what the season could end up being about. We could end up winning 7, 8, 9 games. But it keeps reminding me, remember the Lions went on 1-6 or something. They were 1-5, 1-6 under Ben Johnson and Campbell year one. And then they went on this big run at the end of the year. They won, I think it was 6 out of 7. And they brought that momentum into the next year, to the next year, to the next year. And that's one thing in Detroit. And I'm not belittling Detroit. They're a big sports city, big sport fan base. But Chicago's different. If there's some sort of a hope with Chicago Bears fans and the players get to feed into that in the city and around the world, there's a momentum that can be built with Chicago Bears that's unlike any other franchise in the NFL. And that was there last night. There was almost a belief that they were going to find a way to do it. And whether that's something that is ingrained in this group of players now, whether it's to do with the coaching staff, and I don't just include Ben Johnson in that, it's everything else that's connected to it. This is going to be a massive win mentality. So even if they lose in the Commanders in 2 weeks' time, it's still the next steps that you want to see, and it's great.
Yeah, it's the manner of how they perform with those kind of more established teams. But it's one of those ones where and obviously you get ahead of yourself and you get excited as a Bears fan, but it's one of those ones where even going into that game, it's Monday Night Football, isn't it? Going into that game, you feel like the Bears are just a different team now. They've got a different feeling around them. And I think they'll go in there thinking, yeah, we can absolutely win this game. I think if you look at the run of the next 5-6 games, this is a real opportunity for the Bears to pick up some wins there. So you've obviously got the Commanders when we get back from the bye. 5 days later, you've then got the Saints, then the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Giants. You look at some of those teams and you're just like, the Ravens have had a tough start to the season. The Saints, fair enough. There's games in there that you think you can maybe get there and get a few wins, because after that it starts getting a wee bit difficult again. You've got the Vikings, and you get the Eagles, and you get the Packers, and teams like that. Do you know what I mean? So I think the next sort of 5 games will really kind of dictate the direction of the rest of the season. And did the Ravens lose Lamar? Did that happen?
Yeah, I just trying to see that now. I will say this. I did watch the end of the Dallas Packers game last night. Jesus, the Packers are believing their own hype. They were defensively so poor against the Dallas team that is meh. I think
what a game for the neutral fan though. Was it 40 apiece?
40 all. No, your boy Pickens screwed it up. He goes and takes a touchdown. He should fall on the 1 yard line. They've got a minute to go. They've got 4 plays to get in from 1 yard line.
He's not my boy anymore, man. He's not my boy anymore. One point.
One point he was your boy. But anyway, he Dallas threw that away in my opinion, and then they get him on a 4th down and they do what Matty Eberflus does defensively, and they sit back and let the free pocket open and back into it. It was so they telegraphed a blitz, man. Like I could have predicted it from Sweden. I was like, here comes a 2-man blitz with high safeties, with linebacker blitz and a corner blitz, and you're like, that's what's coming. And the Packers saw it a mile away. When in fact, what they needed to do was go either all out blitz, or they needed to not blitz at all and just sit in the pocket and make Love throw the ball through a hole. And it frustrates me watching Matty Eberflus defense. It just reminds me so much of bad times. Anyway, I also thought I was delighted with Dennis Allen, and I want to take your take on Dennis Allen. 2 weeks ago, we were sitting here with a 50 burger on our case, and we looked pathetic defensively, and we looked like we gave up. And it was obviously pressure coming in. But the last 2 weeks, you look at from halftime onwards against Dallas, we literally look like a different defense. What's your take on Dennis Allen now going into the bye?
I think it's definitely trending in the right direction. I think he's doing the best with what he has. Certainly on that defensive line, obviously we've had injuries and we've had our defensive ends not really, getting there in terms of statistics. But I really like, and you've seen it a lot last night. He's obviously got his 4-man rush, but then he's bringing the linebackers down to the line of scrimmage as well. And then the quarterback's then like, right, what's happening next? Are they bringing the house? Are they going to drop one linebacker back? Are they going to drop both of them back? What's going to happen there? He's obviously trying to get the safeties and the cornerbacks involved in blitzes as well. So that's what you want to see. So I think, the guy knows what he's doing in terms of, using what he has. And I think obviously he's getting players singing a tune. I think considering the fact that we've had such a decimated defensive back room, outside of that one game against Detroit, it's actually been pretty decent for the most part. He's having to deal with the fact that you get Nashon Wright as his other starting cornerback. And I can understand how that could be frustrating. He's having to have Nick McLeod in there as his nickel because Kyler Gordon's still not there. So once he's getting these other guys back, the only way is further up from there. Do you know what I mean? Like once you get Kyler Gordon in there, once you get TJ Edwards back, once you get Grady Jarrett back, although to be fair, Grady Jarrett has been a bit disappointing since he's arrived in Chicago. So hopefully that improves. But yeah, I think he's been a real asset. I think there was always that sort of thought that, and realistically, we talked about it before, Matt Eberflus, terrible head coach, good defensive coordinator, and people were worried there's going to be a wee bit of a drop-off there. But I don't think that's been the case. And if anything, you look at Matt Eberflus, he's lost his star pass rusher, and all of a sudden he gives up at least 30 points every game now. So maybe that was just all a ruse as well, but I've been generally happy with the performance.
I'm sorry for interrupting you. I say this: Eberflus's defense looks like it's outdated. I think he's been found out a lot of ways. He sits back way too much. He doesn't put enough pressure on, and obviously losing the star pass rusher won't help that. But he's going to be in trouble, I think, at the end of the year because you can't keep conceding 35, 40 points as a Dallas Cowboy defensive coach. You just can't. From our perspective, I love the fact that he's able to roll with what he's got in front of him. I think he massively misses Kyler Gordon. I think you'll see this defense jump a massive amount because everything that you're hearing out of camp when Kyler Gordon was there, with that he loved him and he'll have plays. And what you'll find with Kyler is he'll be the blitz guy. I think a lot of the plan around the edges, I don't think for some reason we're going to see a lot of sacks out of our edges. We're just not, and which is sad considering we pay Montez Sweat so much money and we spent so much money on Adengbo. But what I do like about the scheme that he has is that he's also got playmakers in his back seven. You've seen Tremaine Edmonds do interceptions. You've seen Stevenson now do interceptions. You've seen Shane Wright has a pick 6 on him. Byard has obviously got 3 interceptions in the last game and a bit. And those are the people that are making plays. You can't expect them to continue doing it. I thought Andrew Billings was very good last night. I know we didn't really stop the run with Genty, but Billings made some big moves and big hits. I'd like to see more of Gervin Dexter. I think it's there. I think it's just for some reason not around. But you said it right. We look at the next 5 games. We really got to be looking at winning at least 3 of them, because we're playing against teams who, in the case, I think is it the Bengals, they're missing Burrow. There's Commanders are a weird team, if I'm honest. They should be really, really good, but they're that kind of weird level. So after that, I think we got the Saints as well, which are pretty poor. There's other teams, and I wouldn't. It's a weird one. I wouldn't be scared going to play the Packers at the moment. I wouldn't be scared to play the Vikings. Lions are the one team we don't have to play them till week 17 or 18 or whatever, or 17, I think it is. So that's another one. Like, we need to start thinking that way. We need to start going into the Commanders game going, we can actually put these guys under pressure.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the good thing about the positioning of the bye week for this season is, you get a quarter of your season done, and then you've got an opportunity to sit back early and make those adjustments for the rest of the year. Alternatively, you could have been in a situation where your bye weeks, week 10 or whatever, Jimmy, is further down the line, and you maybe by that point you've gone too far down the wrong way before you get a chance to really regroup and have a proper think about it. Because you know what it's like. You're week to week in the NFL. You're going from one game on a Sunday. Monday you get a chance to maybe kind of go over it a wee bit, but then you're right on to the next week and you're planning for the next team that you're playing, sort of thing, and adjusting and scheming to that. Whereas if you have that whole week to kind of sit and, 2 weeks now effectively, to sit and really kind of think about what you want to do moving forward for the rest of the year, it's good to have that now as opposed to having it, 2-3 months down the line. So I think we're in a really advantageous position of having the week 5 bye. So I'm really curious to see how we come out of it. Historically, the Bears come out of byes and it's a riot. So again, it'll be good to see if we have changed that as well. And I think the important thing for this first year under Ben Johnson, because let's be honest, we're not winning the Super Bowl, right? But the important thing for this year under Ben Johnson is righting the ship, getting it going in the right direction, getting those really strong foundations in there, getting the relationship with between Ben and Caleb to where it needs to be. And really having your offense become a different animal to what's been before. The defense is arguably just continued to be as productive as it has been over the last couple of years. It's that offense that we really want to see, the changes happening. And I think a big part of that is going to be getting the run game going more. So I think, you get your bye week's got to be an opportunity for us to really have a look at that and what we want to do. What have I said that's blasphemy, Lee? Sorry, I must have.
Lee's not impressed with you.
I just said a lot. I see a lot of shit here, man. Like,
do you know what? I totally agree with you around what we're looking at. I think the big one for me that you look at Caleb Williams' development, and in the final 2 minutes of the half this season, he's 8 out of 11, 72.7%, 102 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 140.9 passer rating in the last 2 minutes for the half. And these are the ones, that's where he's getting the blasphemy out because you're saying no Super Bowl. I think from my perspective, the development of Caleb is the first 4. We keep on saying it about quarterbacks, whether it's Mitch Trubisky, whether it's Justin Fields, and now with Caleb. But what I really like is that you're actually seeing improvement you're seeing improvement, and it's stuff that he was poor at or questioned on, whether that's temperament, whether that's ability to stay in the pocket, whether that's passing, long passes, short passes. Those are the development, and it's amazing when you have a real coach. What that does to you and the confidence it gives you. And I love, there was a question asked him after the game last night, and one of the side reporters went, "Oh, is your head coach going to be happy with you?" And he said, "No, because I threw the ball to the best player, their best player in the field." So like, I don't like, and you've heard Ben Johnson say we're not friends, like we're not going to be friends. I'm his head coach, and we've had so many coaches at Chicago who wanted to be the friend of everybody and not rock the boat. This guy couldn't give a shit. Like Braxton Jones not performing, out you go. Theo Benedict's not making a right tackle, you go with left, and if he didn't perform, out he goes. It's ruthless with what you want from your head coach. There's a little bit of psychopathic stuff to it, and I think that's what we want. We wanted that. We need, this locker room needs it. I saw, like, after
that halftime interview.
What a dumbass question. What a dumbass.
You'll see it down here at the bottom of the screen.
See her, she's there. That's the first thing I saw. What a dumbass question.
In his face when she was asking that stupid question.
He was
brilliant. I loved it.
Because it is a stupid question. Like, you're going to have to change. What are you talking about? What do you like? Look.
And he's like, what do we need to do then? Tell us what we need to do.
Sorry?
Do you know what I mean? That's what he was saying. He's like, well, what do we need to do then? What do we need to do? Tell us what we need to do. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think she got wrapped up in the whole emotion of it as well. I think that was probably in her head, and she probably said it. And look, reporters, Jesus Christ, we've had some interesting reporters in the Bears locker or in the Bears press corps, so we won't be giving out too much about it. But I think if she'd had a question back, she wouldn't have asked that question. I think Ben Johnson's reply kind of shows him a little bit as well. He wasn't happy, obviously, with his team, and I just thought the whole demeanour he's given. He hasn't done everything right. Don't get me wrong, but like little things, and I'd say this: little things are what's impressed me. Like, even if the Raiders have made that kick, we still have 37 seconds. We have 2 timeouts. He held those timeouts to do that. So from that side of things, it's so much more progressive, and this is a first year head coach, 4th game as a head coach, and already he's better than Manny Eberflus. Like, he's already won more Sunday games than Manny Eberflus has. Like, that's horrendous.
4 games into his career as man.
Versus 18.
I think the guy is insane. I think he's so intense that it's great. Do you know what he reminds me of? And I'd sitting watching him last night, and he reminds me of. You've seen the movie Goodfellas?
Yeah.
Right. Joe Pesci's character.
Yeah.
Like the guy. So what's so fucking funny about me? Like that guy. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I could just see Ben Johnson doing that with one of the players, like kind of like psyching him, like, and like he's like he's just. I think he's just no right in the head, to be honest with you. But that's a good thing. I like the fact that he's no right in the head. It matches what we should, what the approach should be with this team. It should be, intense. It should be laser focus. It should be no days off. All that kind of, but actually living it. You heard Matt Eberflus say it before. You heard Matt Nagy say it before, but you didn't actually believe it. Do you know what I mean? And it's always like, but we had a great practice. Well, of course you had a fucking great practice. You were playing the Bears against the Bears. We were shite. Do you know what I mean? You were always going to have a great practice. Once you actually came up against another team, then you were going to be pish. Do you know what I mean? So, and the reality is that you guys weren't. There was no, like, this guy's like a mad scientist. He's somewhere between Joe Pesci and the Goodfellas and a mad scientist. I don't know where to meet him. But the guy, I'm a fan of him so far. I definitely am a fan. You're right, though. It's not been ideal. The whole thing hasn't went. At the end of the day, he's a rookie head coach.
Correct.
There's been some decisions that have been questionable. There's some play calls that I haven't liked. There's been, for me, some personnel choices that I think haven't worked either. but hopefully we now start to see that shifting a little bit. But yeah, it's encouraging.
But he's willing to make changes, man. He's willing to make decisions. There's no way on earth the last 3, 4, 5 head coaches we've had at Chicago Bears would have taken off their left tackle when their right tackle, their starting right tackle's out. There isn't a hope that he would have put an undrafted free agent in at left tackle for the first time and a rookie who's struggled in that second. There's no way on earth he would have done. None of the last 4 or 5 coaches would have done that. That alone gives me time. And also, he's calling people out as well. You know, he came out after the Lions game saying we are not performing in training like a championship-winning team, and he was calling the whole organization out. He wasn't just blaming the players; he was taking responsibility himself that his coaching wasn't good enough, his play calling wasn't good enough, his introducing of the rookies wasn't good enough, his introduction of tight ends wasn't good enough. Like, he was calling himself out in that, and he was also calling out the players. And I think after a 52, whatever the scoreline was, that was deserved and it was done in the right way. We haven't seen that, man. We just haven't seen that level. And then on top of that, the players are reacting to it, and they're say what you want, they're giving it their all. There's not one player out there. I know Montez Sweat wasn't mentioned that much, but if you watch him, his confidence level or whatever it is, he's not getting the breaks, but he's trying. There is effort there. There's determination to try and come up with something else. Like, Turner's been poor on defensive line as a rookie. He looks outmatched. He looks outgunned. He looks like he doesn't have that move, but he's still trying. He's still running after the ball. He's still giving it his all. He's still reacting to plays. He's still getting in people's faces. He's making a nuisance of himself, even if he's not performing well. Same goes for Tremaine Edmonds, is getting himself in the. That's all on the defense. On the offensive side of the football, like, players are giving, like, Monongo's runs 5 yards for a rookie. He just runs straight. Like, I want to get your take on the running back scenario. The more I see of DeAndre Swift, get him in space, he is absolutely lethal. He will get you 40 yards in a heartbeat. He's just not your bash up the middle runner. Now, I know he's part of the 19 play drive, but he's just not that. And I don't know, Roshan Johnson must be looking at his contract, because he is what I would have thought would have been your bash up the middle David Montgomery style player, and he just hasn't been used.
Yeah, I wonder about that, because, you know, why is he not being used? But then, you know, at the end of the day, maybe he's just not a guy that Ben Johnson wants as a running back. You know, at the end of the day, like, he's not the fastest guy in the world. You know, we know Ben Johnson likes kind of big athletic guys, and he is a big athletic guy, but, you know, he's a short yardage running back, really. And they're looking for a little bit more. Maybe there's something else going on. I don't know. It's a curious one. I don't know why it's not happening. But really, your running game is your running game is 3 guys. It's Caleb Williams, but then it's also it's Monongai a wee bit, but mostly Swift. You know, I think Monongai's carries will increase as the weeks go on. I think, you know, he is a rookie, and I think they don't want to give him too much too soon. For whatever reason, I don't know. But anyway, he's a rookie. This guy wasn't taken in the first, second, third, fourth round. You know, we have to keep that in mind as well. So
he does look good, though, man. He does look good.
He does look good. He looks good in the limited snaps that he's had. He's looked decent. He's looked decent. I'm not going to fly off the handle, and, you know, I think he needs to be given more opportunity, for definite, like, to prove that he can be that guy. But I still stick to Swift has an important part to play on this offense. And I think you're right. Especially if you run him at the outside, he's a lot more effective than running up the gut. That just doesn't work. I wonder if the Bears look to bring in another running back between now and the Commanders game. I wouldn't be shocked if they did bring in someone. I think there's guys around the league that you could look at on practice squads, and you know, free agent wise, there's probably not much there, but, you know, there's options. You know, I don't think they're going to trade for anybody. I don't think they're going to give up any draft capital for a guy that's probably not going to come in and be your number one running back. I don't think they're going to do that at cornerback either. I just don't see any trades full stop just now. I don't think there's anything that really sticks out. But I think they might look to try and bring in some other sort of running back before the Commanders game. They've got to bring in another cornerback as well. I mean, we've seen it last night. Tyreek Stephen got that tremendous interception and then right away also went down injured. And then you're like, shit. Because if he goes out injured as well, then where are you? You know, because the depth on that defensive back or the cornerback area for me in general is really, really concerning.
Look at Jalen Jones. That's what you're looking at probably there.
Jalen Jones, Brown,
Flowers, sorry. Not Trey Flowers, the other Flowers lad. I think one thing we haven't spoken about, and I can't believe how impressive the play was the actual block from Josh Blackwell. Like the actual skill. And I know on one of the other podcasts on CHGO, and Ho was talking about, you get 2 seconds from when the ball is snapped away and it's usually kicked in the NFL. He was all over the ball. Like he was all out, and he missed two before then. And I think what was amazing for me was the athleticism, and he's one of those unsung heroes on special teams. Welcome, Dean, my man. He's one of those unsung heroes that just makes plays. He was the one that kick return against the Packers at the end of last season. He's always thereabouts. Deserves to be in the squad. Deserves to be in the 53. Takes his chances when he's there on the field. And I just thought, I was so happy for him. But the athleticism, man, was insane. The speed and the positioning, because what was really mentioned to me, which I always forget about, is he touches the kicker or touches the holder. That's another 15-yard roughing the passer or whatever, rushing the kicker or whatever. So he has to time it perfectly, angled it perfectly. And like, great for special teams who have been much maligned under the first 2-3 weeks to come out and make a performance like that. You've seen our kicker gets 4 from 4. Yeah, he won't kick over 50, 55 yards, but 4 from 4, gets his game ball, does what he's meant to do after the few weeks he's had. And then to see, again, it's the unsung heroes that we've done this week and last week. Blackwell, even you can say Santos, even our fourth round punter with a punt that stops 2 yards from the end line. Like, that's an important moment because we get another block there. It results eventually in the Roma Dunze touchdown. Obviously, I'm not saying he deserves to be a fourth round pick, but that's what you're asking for players to make decisions. I would say one thing to you. And I have ranted a little bit. I would say one thing. You wouldn't really trust Ryan Poles on anything in 3rd, 4th, 5th round anyway. So giving up a 3rd rounder, 4th rounder, a 5th rounder for me, based on the history of Ryan Poles, isn't the worst thing in the world to do.
I suppose when you think about it like that, I mean, at the end of the day, like, you're right. Tory Taylor should be doing that stuff. You know, he was a punter taking that high. It was absurd in the first place. So yeah, you expect that to be happening on every game, on every punt, for definite. But Josh Blackwell, you're right. I mean, it was so funny. I got to that point in the game last night where I had to stand watching it. Like, I could, like, for the last 15, 20 minutes, I was standing beside the TV, like this sort of thing, like just everything that was happening. And that way, see when he lined up to take the field goal, man, I'm looking at it and going, we're going to fucking block this. We're going to do it. I don't know why. I've just got this feeling in my head. I've got this tingling somewhere that we're going to block this. Honestly, and then it happened. I was like, oh, Jesus. It was pure euphoric, like, when it happened. But it was interesting after the game, and I think it was Ben Johnson that was asked about it, and he was saying that Coach Hightower had basically, like, predicted it all. You know, like, Josh is going to get to this. It's almost like they planned it out. They've obviously been sitting practicing these things, and I think that, you know, it was just absolutely phenomenal. But it's all in all, you know, it's a great win. And it just feels so nice because for a minute, actually for 15 minutes last night, I was sitting going, we're going to lose this. We're going to lose this, and I'm going to be in a fucking bad mood all tomorrow because of this game. But then for it to just turn round and to have that outcome was just absolutely phenomenal. Listen, before 2-2,
man, before we go on, 2-2 is we're still in there. like Minnesota lost yesterday in Dublin. God, it was weird watching Cairns.
I was going to ask you about the Dublin game, man. What were your thoughts?
He seemed very happy and felt that he was Irish and Scottish and stuff like that. That upsets me because he's a lunatic. But great to have it in Dublin. Great to have the Steelers there. There's a massive connection between Ireland and Pittsburgh and that whole franchise. So that's great. But for me, the weekend was made that last night, or for me this morning. Watching that performance and watching the grit, and you can see a future now. I don't think I've seen that. We've gone through, and I mean this to every single Bears fan around the world. We deserve that. We absolutely deserve that. We deserve to have happy moments like that. And I said it earlier in the show, this franchise is a sleeping giant. It's a sleeping giant. And if it just gets that hope, if it gets that belief, and it gets the right coach, and looks like we have the right coach, looks like we're getting the right quarterback, looks like we're getting weapons at a young age in the likes of Burden and Roma Dunze and Loveland if he performs, and with the performances the likes of Benedict and Trapillo in one game. I know it's short cycle, but there's future there in that. It's not like we've got a group of old experienced heads that are dragging us through games, or more importantly, it's not just one side of the football that's winning the games. Yes, the defense was first three quarters was head and shoulders better, but in that last quarter, we needed Caleb to walk us down the field. He walks down the field. He makes an amazing throw to Roma Dunze. He makes an amazing catch to get a touchdown. And then Swift, who had a poor game from an overall perspective, when he was really wanted, it was that drive, and he pulled it out of the fire, and the offensive line started setting up, and Max Crosby was getting held back to, and all those things is what we want to see, and it's progress. We go into Washington. I'm sure there's going to be another game or two this year where we get blown out, because that's the NFL, and we're not near that yet, that level. But it's bad. I'm going into games now. Every year last year, I'd go into the games going, oh, Jesus, this is going to be tough. We're not going to score more than 15 points. This is going to be, we need our defense. Like, honestly, I remember watching games the last 3 years where the offense would go out and I'd be like, just don't give away a turnover. Just punt it back to them and get hopefully the defense does a pick six or something. Now you're like, okay, offense, let's go. Let's see what you have. Let's see what the play call is going to be. And you're a bit excited watching this offense now. And it's brilliant for me as we head into these games. You look at other teams, it's always been other teams who turn things around quicker than we have. The ship is turning. It's slowly turning, and I'm not saying we're going to go and win 6 games in a row, but it's slowly turning, and you're seeing real positives.
Yeah, and we've got through an hour. We haven't even talked about the trick plays, the fake flea flicker and the stumble thing, man. Do you know what I mean? But the fake flea flicker, and that's a difficult one to say. Say that 3 times real fast. Yeah, that see if that play had come off, that would have been excellent. I mean, it was really impressive. And to be fair to Swift, his hand gets stuck in the guy's helmet, get done for the face mask, but really, really, really encouraging. But yeah, listen, guys, thanks very much for joining us. Have we got anything else we want to talk about before we go now? Is that us?
Do we have anything else before I go? My dog is all right. I'm week 3.
Oh God! So did he get you snipped?
My dog got the snip, and now poor Chip. Well, not poor Chip. Chip is flying around now, eating food, not a bother him. And was out with my kids yesterday or Sunday, so had great crack. They had great crack with him. Thought he was loving life, and himself and his sister are relaxing in life. Chip, exactly. That's what he got. He got to literally watch a bit of the game with me last night or this morning, because when everyone else in the house was asleep, he kind of wandered into me going, what the fuck are you doing? You're going to feed me at 4:30 a.m. So he got to watch a bit of the Bears game. He didn't know what was going on now. He was looking at it. But he's doing good.
That's the very least you could do for the boy, because you snipped his balls off. Do you know what I mean? So at least let him watch the game.
He kind of watched the game, get a bit of food. He was loving life, went out for a pee at the halftime break. That's all he wanted to do, and everything was great then. And as long as it didn't set off the alarm, I was doing well. Chip the snip lead, that's what I'm talking about. I'll pass on your regards to him, because I've had a few people ask how he's doing. But no, other than that, I think, look, it's great. It's bye week. It's kind of sad for a bye week, because you kind of want the Bears game next week again, but we're heading into the Commanders week, and we've got I think we have a good guest next week, do we?
Well, I mean, has it been confirmed? Is it coming on?
He is coming on.
Okay, I'll let you let the people know who's coming on next Monday.
We have a good friend of ours, Greg Bragg's, going to come on next week for 15-20 minutes. As long as he survives his trip to Vegas, from what I'm seeing online, his poor wife is
worried about Michael Jackson.
Oh, stop! Don't ask me. We're going to ask him about that as well. So he said to me he's coming on next week for 15-20 minutes. So tell everyone that I'm going to copy you, means he's no choice. And then the week after that, somebody else the week after that was decent as well. Who do we book the week after? Berlissimo, that was the dude. Yeah. Even though it's not a Monday, it's more of a Wednesday. So we got him in. And then I'm hopeful of 2 or 3 more. Send on information if you want. There's anybody you want us to try and get hold of. People are pretty good going back to us. It's great. Yeah. Mondays when the Bears win is great.
Victory Monday, lads. Listen, thanks very much. Thanks very much for joining us. I say we'll be back next Monday with Greg Braggs and some bi-week chat. We'll figure out what that is before next Monday, but make sure that you like the show, subscribe to the show, follow the show on X at Bear Down Abroad, and until next time, good, better, best, never let it rest. Bear down.
Bear down.